Okay, so we're going to be walking through assignment 2.4. At this point, in this transition, now you're going to see assignments that actually kick off and start off rolling right into the steps. So now we're going to assume that every time you have an assignment that you don't download, you'll be creating a new session. So in this instance, we're going to File, Create New. We'll create a new Pro Tools session. It will be blank, so we don't need a template, but we will go and do what we have been doing, calling it assignment 2.4 slash, dash your name, and saving it somewhere that we're recognizing, either on the desktop or on an external or in the document. So let's just say I put mine on the desktop for now, assignment 2.4, your name, and away we go. So let's save it and set it up here. So what I'm going to do is let me go back to cascading my arrangement here so that we're good. So the first thing we're going to be doing, because we're going to be handling pre-punch and post-roll recording, is we actually have to set up a few things in order to make this work. The first thing that I want to note is you guys will be working on this on your MIDI controller. I'm going to be working on this on my MIDI, essentially my MIDI drum set. So, it's going to be mostly the same, but a little bit different. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go immediately in step one, I'm going to go to Options and make sure that Quick Punch is enabled. Options, Quick Punch. This will allow me in the transport window to have access to the Quick Punch itself. Step two, we're going to go ahead and create a new instrument track, and for this one we can select Command-Shift-N, or we can go to New Track. So a couple things that we've done in the past, or some things that we've mostly utilized or started, is this use of Command, Shift, and N. And so we're going to go Command, Shift, and N, or you can go to Track, New, and it shows it to you there. And then what we're going to do is we're going to bring in a new instrument track. For now, we only need one, but we are going to put it to stereo, and we're going to select, so stereo, instrument track. Now this one, you can essentially label what you'd like. For me, I'm going to call it MIDI drums, because that's what mine's going to be. And then hit create. Once that's built, then we're going to go to the mix window, and you can either do it by going to window and selecting mix, or utilizing command equals. Let me get that on screen so you can see it. So command equals, that's what's going to get you there. And then, sorry, I changed my view, so I need to make sure that in my view down below, I need to make sure I click into it and select instrument as well as inserts. I'm going to open up sends as well and any IO. Great. What this is going to show me is now at the top it should show me that I'm bringing in any MIDI at all. So it should just say all in my instrument. And then once I put a plugin in, it's going to show it there. So let me go ahead and get in my instrument. And this is where you can make different elections. You could choose different sounds or different things. You could use vacuum. You should have access to vacuum and a few others. I'm actually going to use my native instrument drum set, so this is going to just take a second to load. And once it's in, I just have to configure it pretty quickly. What I'm going to do, actually what I'll probably do with mine, just being real, is I have a configuration that's actually fantastic, and I'm going to import it from a different session real quickly. So if I go to any one of my recents, let's say I just go to 2022, and I go to the daily that I did the other day, that's fine. All I'm looking for is a track called Drums. There it is. It's MIDI drums and this drums aux. Let's bring those in. So all I'm going to do is bring mine in. You don't have to do any of those steps. What you're going to do instead is you're going to select yours off of the instrument lane. Pick one of these instruments like vacuum or something like that. And then you're ready to start playing. I'm going to do mine on drums because it's just going to be a little more fun for me, I think. That's it. I'm going to copy, all I'm doing is copying these parameters off those tracks that I brought in. I don't actually need them. I was just wanted to steal the setup that I had, and now I should have my contact drum set, and it should be mapped to my MIDI configuration. So, yep, this is Studio Drummer. Alright, all this stuff looks good, and I'm running with it. I'm just running a compressor to kind of get that sound. Then what we're going to do is I do realize that in step 4 it does ask you to name your track synth. So if you just double click the nameplate, that's what this is right here. You're going to title it synth and hit OK. Right, so for yours you'll type in synth and hit OK. I'm not going to do that since mine's MIDI drums. Then you're going to record arm the track. Now one thing that's particular about this scenario is that we need a click track to give us some sort of metronome for our session. And so in order to do that effectively, this is what needs to happen. We're going to go to Track, scroll down, Create Click Track. Great, now we have our metronome. We're almost always going to use it. We are going to turn it down because it always comes out loud. And I like to switch mine to this wood block with no accent, this one at the bottom, for both wood block. So it should come back nice and just normal. So let's take a listen real quick. Great, now what I need to do is I actually need to set the tempo. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Window, Transport. Once I get to the transport, I'm going to zoom in over here where it says tempo, and I'm going to click into that where it says BPM equals 120. If I hit the letter T on my screen, it's going to tap tempo for me. So that's basically the tap. So let's say I decided I want to do something this fast. Or maybe, let's see, that feels good, right? What I'm going to do is I'm going to tap T in that same pattern. And then it's going to give me some sort of BPM. I like to take the average. So if I'm like, you know what, I'm seeing 90 most of the time, that's what I'm going to use. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit return. And it's going to give me that 90 and locked into that space. So now I have 90. Great. That's my tempo. Now if I push play and I listen, if I push spacebar and listen back, that feels good, okay? Now what I'm going to do on my end over here is I am going to put my headphones on because it's going to be a great accurate representation of that. I'm going to sit down at my kit. Let me just actually test MIDI drum kit live. Cool. And let's get these down. And I'm going to switch over and just do a roll. So what's going to happen with this is this. The way this is set up, is quick punch is this little guy right here, but I don't actually have to hit it. The hotkeys for it, once I'm over here and I have this selected, are going to be Command Spacebar. So if I just hit Command Spacebar, it's going to punch me in. Okay, so I hit that once, it's going to punch me in. I hit it again, it's going to punch me out. Or I could always just hit stop by hitting spacebar and be done. So if I'm looking at creating a pass, it makes it kind of easy that way. One side note, if you have not disengaged Spotlight on your Mac, this is something you need to do before some of these hotkeys can work effectively. So go to Apple, System Preferences. What you're going to look for is you're going to look for something called Keyboard. And in Keyboard, you're looking for shortcuts. Okay. After that, go to Spotlight and disengage it. Notice the reason you need to disengage it is because Command Spacebar, according to Spotlight, shows you a Spotlight search, which means if this is active, Command Spacebar does this instead of starting your recording. So we have to disengage that little item there, and then you can close the window from System Preferences and be done. Now from here, what that's going to allow me to do is I'm going to record a pass. And this is just a normal pass. So in step 6, it's asking you to record a pass of MIDI for about 16 bars and then press stop and return to bar 1. So kind of an easy way to do that, especially for setting that up if you just want to hit exactly 16 bars. If you go to grid and then you make sure that your counter at the top is set to bars and beats, you can actually highlight an area of 16 bars. So if you highlight your 16 bars, that's your marker. Like that's your goal. That's like what you're aiming for with that. So if we wanted to just do 16 bars, we could do it like that. Now, what I like to do, just because I have to turn around and actually play, is I like to manually count my 16 bars from the time that I start. So it's not actually going to be just 16 bars from the front. But let's take our first initial pass. All I'm going to do is hit Command and spacebar to start recording. So I'm going to hit Command and spacebar to start my recording, and then my recording process will start. I'll stop it once I hit my 16th bar, providing that everything is successful. So let's take it for a spin. Okay, so let's take a look. It looks like in my example, I really only made it 18 bars. I'm going to clip this. So what I'm going to do is, actually, you know what? It's fine. This will just give me enough to work with for you. What you may have noticed in listening to it is that there's some fumbling around. So I'm going to switch back to slip mode. I'm going to kind of highlight it. So let me find it. Okay, so this is a little more difficult for me because I actually have to turn around and get into another chair to do this quick punch. So what I'm going to do is, while I'm playing this, I'm going to push play, and then I'm going to hit Command Spacebar, and that will engage my quick punch. So as an example, if I want to see this play out, and I'm going to hit Command S, okay, just to make sure I'm saving this. But if I hit Command Spacebar, or sorry, if I hit Spacebar to play it, at any time... Sorry, just so you can hear this. At any time, I can jump in by hitting Command Spacebar. Now, the beauty of MIDI that I think is fantastic is that MIDI is set up in a way where it doesn't do anything until you actually add data. So if it sees no notes, it's not actually going to add anything. So note that last pass, it did nothing. One other thing to mention is that if I have this button active, this is MIDI merge. If I record on it now, it's just going to add to my MIDI pass. So I need to disengage my MIDI merge. And then it should take over. So like if I do that again, I'm actually going to jump in and try it. I'm just going to try to fix this downbeat phrase and with this quick punch. So again, I'm going to push play and then Command Spacebar. Here we go. So a little bit disjointed because of the fact that it takes a bit of a turn and spin to the other chair. But see, this is why Quick Punch is actually great from an operator standpoint, but it's not great when you're working it on your own. So what you noticed is it threw in that new piece of content right there in the middle, and it took away anything out on the outer bounds. So what's kind of nice about this, and I can hit Command Z to undo it, is at least for you, for your part of the project, you just have to fulfill that piece, so you've done it. But what's great about this is if I was recording somebody and somebody else was playing, this is like the thing, this is the go-to thing. When I'm working vocals especially, I'm tracking somebody's vocals and I'm like, all right, I want you to just re-sing this phrase or try this other line. I'm literally watching their performance glide by while I'm about to engage the Command spacebar section and then back out again. And I'm able to jump in and jump out and jump in and jump out and just keep essentially gathering these clips as we go, so it pieces these things together quite nicely. But that's it for that. And then we're going to move on to part 2 for the pre and post roll. And this is where it really starts to become more realistic for when you're working by yourself, in that we need a few things set up to work out in our favor. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to Window and Transport. We have it right here. And we have to work out a few things here. One of those is we're going to select our view and make sure that we are in the expanded transport. If you open it up and it's missing this, it's probably missing the expanded transport element. We're in the expanded transport, and then we're going to zoom in and just kind of take a look here. So with the expanded transport open, we want to click into the pre-roll, and we're gonna say, you know what, we want to give our pre-roll a certain amount of time, and that's this is bars and beats. Really, it's bars and beats, and then fractions of those beats. So as long as our main counter, either selected here or selected here, is in bars and beats, then you'll be set up to do it this way. And you're just going to make sure you have at least a 2-bar. This is a 2-bar pre-roll. The pre-roll is going to allow us to slide to hear playback right before we actually want it to record. Now, if we hit this backslash, sorry, it's kind of hard to see here. If we hit this, I'm sorry, it's the forward slash. Actually, I think that's still a backslash technically. It's going to toggle us through this window option. Every time I hit it, it's going to toggle me through a different part of this window. So if we hit it once, it's going to take us to post roll. Now the post roll allows us to have roll after the recording has started. So in the post roll, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to add the number 2, so we can get a 2-bar right here. Okay, and then we're going to set this up so that it's going to pick us up and then jump back out. And so, but in order to enable it, we then have to select on these so they're highlighted in green. Okay. The beauty of this is that with pre and post roll selected, it's going to allow us to punch in and jump in for a specific section. Now in the steps, it asks you to go to, bar 4-1, and we can do that here. And watch what happens. We have to make sure we're in grid mode, and we're going to go land on bar 4. What is important here is if you notice at the very top, we see the red, and then there's these flags. So the flags represent pre-roll and post-roll. And right now I don't have anything selected. So what I need to do in order to make this work is I actually have to select an area that I want to punch in. So if I'm like, you know what, I want to punch in for just 2 bars, it's going to play for me the audio that exists, punch me in, and then punch me out. Now, in my example, originally where I had done this piece, I'm going to go undo that take overall and try to get back to my original. Great. If you remember, I'm not going to be at 4:1. I'm just going to show you this is a good example here. And you could do this. You can slide. I'd give you the opportunity to just do what you need to for this particular portion because you might have recorded in a different space in terms of the time and bars and beats. I didn't like this transition right here, so let's listen to it. I'm going to go back in and fix it, but let's listen to it real quickly. Sweet. So a real easy thing I can do for this is I'm actually going to highlight just that one section. It's just one bar. And my pre-roll is going to allow the rolling to start here, and it won't record me until we get to this part. So even if I'm playing anything, I'm not getting recorded until we get here. So let's try it out. All I have to do to engage this, when this is set up, is I just have to hit Command Spacebar. And that will engage my roll. As long as this is active down below, then you should see it play out. Here we go. And that's how it works. It's a pretty simple process, but the great part about this is definitely something that's usable when you're recording yourself or you have a very specific, accurate place that you want to lock into. You just want to hit it every time. You want to try to do that every time. The other really cool news about this is that the roll is actually recording underneath on both sides. So if you needed to make changes to what you just did, you actually have the ability and the flexibility to move those pieces. And so it gives you that range and that ability. So that's kind of nice. The last one I think we did, let's see. I think at the very end, all you have to do here to be done with this is to get a screenshot of the finalized recording. And again, this is going to be Shift Command 4. I don't know if that all fits on screen. Yeah, Shift Command 4. And that gives you crosshairs. You're going to just highlight. And that's why it's important that it has your name at the top. So your name's there. And you just have to catch that region of MIDI. And then you're going to submit that to the MLP. You'll find that file. You'll submit it to the MLP. And then you're done.